Celia hands off to Adam, and then Adam was handing off to Admiral Davis. So Adam instead hand off to Matt instead of Admiral Davis. Okay.
Perfect. But still do the read the bio, Adam. Just hand it off to me.
If you have a idea, if you don't, that's fine. Let's have it come.
And Celia, we are ready.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the BEYA Stars and Stripes Career Day. I'm Celia Hurst, a 12th grade student at Booker High School in Sarasota, Florida. I'm also your student ambassador for Career Day. We're focusing on STEM and giving you a behind-the-scenes look at careers. Today, we will be learning about life as a sedation dentist from Dr. Kathy Delva. Over to you, Adam.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Adam Misa. I am currently a senior at the Alabama School of Mathematics and Science in Mobile, Alabama. I am a peer advisor and actively participate in the ASMS community. There are many things that is all well encompassed in its mission statement to provide Alabama students with exceptional preparation in the fields of math and science, empowering them to improve their community, state, and nation. And with that, the BEYA SS National Chairman is Vice Admiral Walt Davis. He is a former fighter pilot and the co-founder of EvoNexus. EvoNexus is one of the largest technology incubators in the country, with offices in Silicon Valley, Orange County, and San Diego. And with that, over to you, Mr. Bowman.
All right, thank you, Adam. And thank you everyone for coming to our BEYA Stars and Stripes Career Day. Today, I'm broadcasting live from our nation's capital. As you can see behind us, we have the Washington Monument. And on this day, September 11th, 20 years after one of the worst attacks on our country, it's appropriate that we stand here at the National Museum of African American History and Culture, where we can reflect on our culture, the impact of STEM, and the work really of Dr. Robert Tanner, who was the first African American dentist. So as we study STEM and as we get ready for everything that we're about to do today, I'd ask that you pay attention, ask a lot of questions, learn what it's like to be a dentist. And with that, I'm going to introduce Lieutenant General Bruce Crawford, who is our BEYA Stars and Stripes Career Day National Chairman. He is a retired 3-star general and a senior vice president at Jacobs. Lieutenant General Crawford, sir, over to you.
Well, Matt, thank you. Thank you very much for that warm introduction, and good morning to everyone. Actually, slightly good afternoon to everyone. Just wanted to take the opportunity to say just a few words before we get into today's engagement, and hopefully a lively exchange of information and discussion. Number one, again, thank you all for being here. You could have been many places today, but you made a conscious decision to be right here, right now with us because of your belief in investing in the nation's next greatest generation of leaders. So a couple of quick thoughts. One, this really is a historic day, 20 years after the fatal attack on this country. And so I realized up front, and that was 9/11, but I realized up front that 99% of the people on today were not born then. What I would tell you, I would ask you to just, in addition to STEM and acknowledging the importance of STEM, I would ask you to just kind of think of three things as you look forward to your careers, and as you look forward to one day that you will be hosting an event like Matt Bowman's doing, or like Quan's doing, or General Richardson, or myself, or Admiral Davis, that one day you will be doing that. Think about three things. I want you to think about service, all right? In the context of STEM and becoming a dentist or becoming a scientist or discovering that next greatest technology, whether it's a cure for cancer or a cure for Alzheimer's or the next vaccine, I want you to think about service to others. And I want you to think about, in the context of service, being a part of something bigger than yourself. So that's point number one. I want you to think about sacrifice. We live in a world now with great challenge where there can be no success in many cases without sacrifice. All right. So you're going to face great challenges. Getting knocked down is one thing, but the ability to get up is another thing, which leads to my final point, and that's resiliency. So as you take it all in today, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to hear a lot. Ask hard questions, okay? Because that's why we're here. That's why we chose to be here, to give back. But I want you to think about service. I want you to think deeply about sacrifice. And I want you to think about what happens when things don't go right. And you've got to be resilient, like the country did 20 years ago during 9/11, when we rallied to say that we're bigger than this, that we're better than this. And in the future, we're going to come together now on behalf of the future of this great nation. So listen, again, in closing, just ask hard questions and think about why not me? When you listen to our guest speaker, think about why can't this be me in the future? Because ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, I'm a believer. I believe in you, and it can be you. And so thanks to everybody for being here today, and look forward to a lively discussion. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Savannah, who's one of our BEYA STEM ambassadors from Sacramento, California. So over to you, Savannah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Savannah Carmule, and I will be introducing the speaker today. The speaker today will be Dr. Kathy Delva. Now, she is a sedation dentist and the owner of 2 dental offices. She was born in Haiti and she was raised in New York City, and she is one of the top dentists in the nation. I'm going to pass it to Dr. Kathy Delva.
Thank you, Savannah. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. As Savannah mentioned, my name is Dr. Kathy Delva, and I am a sedation dentist practicing out of Virginia. I own 2 practices, one in Chesapeake and Virginia Beach. And I've been practicing dentistry for about 6 years now. And I can absolutely tell you that it is by far one of the best decisions that I've made in my life. And so I'm so excited to be here with you today to share with you my profession and to talk to you about a little bit of what I do every day as a sedation dentist, and how you can also, should you decide to choose a career path in dentistry, how you can become a dentist as well. Just to kind of follow up on what General Crawford said, the greatest privilege that you can have in life is to serve others. And with that comes great responsibility and great expectations, which do require a lot of sacrifice. So a lot of the things we do in my field of sedation dentistry is to care for others. And so we help people to achieve healthy and beautiful smiles with a sense of pride, a sense of responsibility, and at the same time, a sense of service. And so sedation dentistry exists because we cater for a special patient population who, for the most part, is fearful of going to the dentist. And so we get to provide people who are very afraid of the dentist, very afraid of doctors, healthy smile, at the same time, enjoy what we do as dentists in terms of participating in just great technology that we have available to us in order to help people to achieve the smile of their dream. And so what I wanted to do today is to kind of walk you through my office and to show you a little bit about the technology we have available and how we can take a patient from their existing smile to a smile that they're happy with. And so, as Savannah mentioned, I am from Haiti, and I was raised in Haiti for the biggest part of my life as a child. And so what I want to say to you is it all starts now. It starts now with you in high school. It all starts now with you going into college, planning and preparing for the future. And what you're doing here as far as participating in this event and listening to what we all have to say about choosing a career will help you to plan for the future and hopefully, you know, achieve the career choice that you have always dreamed of. And so just to kind of give you a little perspective on what we do here is, for example, I'm going to just switch my screen over here to show you. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm from Haiti. I'm an island girl. And so how could you imagine this little kid from Haiti coming to America and becoming a dentist, owning her own practice, and serving others in a way that I probably would have never been able to do had I lived in Haiti. All of that took a lot of planning, as you guys are doing now. And so, you know, being in Haiti, we really valued education, going to school and learning. And it didn't matter how you got to school, whether you walked to school or you drove to school, you knew you had to get there. And, you know, once you were in school, you had to learn and do everything that you have to do in order to move ahead to the next step. And so fast forward to today, I am a dentist and I get to help people go from one status of their oral health to a better oral health. And so this is an illustration of a smile makeover where a patient comes into an office. Obviously, the first picture doesn't look that great. You know, you can see there are some issues there. And then we help people go from a smile like you see on top to the bottom. Again, another patient who comes into the dentist, you can see the discoloration of the teeth. You can see, you know, the misalignment. And then we take her from a smile that you see here on top to that beautiful smile on the bottom. And you may ask yourself, well, how do we do that? How is this even possible to go from this woman on the left side to the lady on the right side? Well, technology is a great thing. And I'm going to walk you to my back office where I'm going to show you what we call a CEREC machine, which is a machine which helps us to mill crowns. A crown is a covering that you put over the teeth. It looks something similar to this. And then you go and you put it over a tooth and you cover the existing tooth with a nicer looking tooth. And so let me just walk you back. To the office. And so this is what we call a CEREC. And what the CEREC does, it helps us design teeth so that we can make crowns. So you can see as dentists, we deal a lot with technology, and the technology that we have available helps us to pretty much create a tooth right in the comfort of our own office. And so this is a tooth that I've had already prepared on a patient. And then what we did is we designed it. As you see, the software is designing the crown to look like a tooth. This is the tooth that we created. And so now we take this tooth and then we mill it into a milling unit that I'm going to show you right here. So this is the milling unit. You put a tooth in. Then you allow the software to carve out a tooth for the patient. Takes a minute, but it'll start carving the tooth, hopefully. Okay, well, technology is not always reliable, but pretty much what happens is you send the crown from the software into the milling unit. The burrs from the milling unit should start to carve out a crown, which comes out looking like this. So we make a crown for the patient, and then the crown then goes on top of a tooth like this. And so pretty much that is how we can take a patient from their existing smile, and we cover their existing smile with a crown that we make in-house that is designed by a dentist. So you have to have very good, I guess, hand stability, artistic ability, and precision in order to create a tooth for a patient with golden proportions and perfect dimension so that they can be happy. And so we help serve patients not only to achieve a good aesthetic result, but also health, because bad oral health can lead to a lot of systemic issues such as diabetes. And so the body and the mouth is all connected. So becoming a dentist is a very rewarding career. You get to work with technology. You get to also be somewhat of a therapist too, because patients come in with insecurities and fears, and you have to help them to be more confident as well, and to understand their oral health a little bit better so that they're not so self-conscious all the time. And so I will yield to, is it Matt?
Dr. Delva, thank you very much for that introduction and the use of the machine to build a crown. What I would also like you to do for the purposes of the call is if you could show them the rest of the office in terms of the examination chairs and then any equipment that you use in your day-to-day. I mean, it was fascinating to see you create those crowns. So we would love to get a tour of your facility. I see that in the chat room, and then go through the equipment in there so that the young engineers and young dentists can see what it's like.
Okay, so I'm gonna just go through the office. So this is the waiting area, which we're not utilizing much now because of COVID-19. We are practicing social distancing, and so patients do not wait in the waiting room. They wait outside in their cars. And when it's their time to come in for their appointment, we call them in and, we do their treatment. Another great use of technology in dentistry is imaging. So we use a CT scan, which is a Cbct, and it creates a three-dimensional image of a person's jaw. And so I can show you what that looks like. Okay, so this is what a Cbct scan looks like. We have taken a three-dimensional image of a patient's jaw so that we can place implants, which are titanium screws that go into the jaw in order to replace a missing tooth. And so this patient had two missing teeth right here. And so we placed titanium screws up into the bone, which healed up, and then we made crowns using the CEREC machine that I showed you earlier to go on top of these titanium screw. And this is kind of a view of the skeletal structure of the mouth. So it just shows the teeth, the jaw, the sinus cavities, and you could pretty much see it from the top view, the front, and all around. This is different from a photo, which is just a two-dimensional picture. And the reason why we need a 3D image is because in order to place an implant into bone, we need to know how tall the bone is, how thick it is, and the only way to measure that is by having a three-dimensional photo. And so we're gonna go here into one of the treatment rooms. What's unique about our practice is that we do sedation, and we do sedation for children who are not cooperative and adults who are fearful of getting dental treatment done. And so what you see here, this is actually a ventilator. We do intubate our patients, we put them fully asleep, and we have these sedation gases, which keeps the patient asleep, okay? And then we have the ventilator, which keeps them breathing. And so this bag would be filled with oxygen, and the ventilator, which is back here, pumps air into the person's lungs. This is our chair, the patient treatment chair. We have all of our drills that fit into these motors, and this helps us to remove decay from people's teeth, and also the materials that we use, such as composite resin materials, such as this, helps us to add tooth structure that appears to be like your natural tooth. And so when you get a filling done and you have a crown done, you cannot tell you should not be able to tell the difference between a natural tooth and a tooth that has been built up. So this is pretty much it. This is the practice. We have another treatment room here with another ventilator for sedation. Again, our CEREC unit, which mills crowns and sends it into the milling unit, which normally mills, but I'm pretty sure I pressed something wrong. So maybe burrs have to be changed. And then once the crown comes out of the milling unit, it goes into the oven, and it gets to be very shiny and polished and ready for delivery onto a patient's tooth. And yeah, this is pretty much it.
Dr. Delva, thank you. That was an excellent tour, an excellent explanation. What about mentors? Can you talk to us about the mentors who helped you get there? And then if you have any classmates or peers that inspire you to do your best, can you tell us about those as well?
Yes, I do have mentors that have inspired me to become a dentist. So, you know, most kids are not saying, well, when I grow, I want to be a dentist. Usually you get exposed to dentistry in one way or another. So for me, when I was in high school, I attended a career day, and I met a dentist who offered me an internship at his practice. And so it was supposed to be a 1-week internship, just to kind of like what you're doing today, just see the life of a dentist. And so I shadowed him for 1 week, Then he asked me back for the second week. I was about 16 years old. And from the day I started my internship, I never left that office, not until 8 years later when I was heading to dental school myself. And so the owner of that dental practice, Dr. Beeg, he took me to other countries where we participated in dental missions to deliver care in underserved communities in Haiti, in Jamaica, in the Dominican Republic. And I actually have some pictures here to show you of some of our mission work that we also do in as a dentist. Because as General Crawford said, the biggest privilege is to serve others. And one of the things we do as dentists is to provide care in communities that don't have access to care as a way of giving back. And so I had the opportunity to go to Haiti and deliver some dental care to prisoners. These were prisoners. Some of these people had never seen a dentist in their entire life. And a lot of these inmates, unfortunately, have been there for 5 years, 10 years, maybe more. And not only there are no access to dentists financially, even if they could access the dentist, they couldn't afford it. And so we took a team of dentists, including myself, and we went into the prison and we helped clean teeth, and we took out some teeth as well for people who were in pain, who had tooth infections. And so, you know, the way we practice dentistry in areas where it is not as accessible is very different than what we have available here in the States. We have technology here, we have running water, we have electricity, and so the possibilities are endless. You can do a complete smile makeover without thinking about what resources you have available to you. But if you're into community service and mission work, dentistry is definitely the way to go, because there are a lot of people who need it, and especially overseas don't have access to the same things that we have here. And so we end up having to do a lot of tooth extractions and a lot of teeth cleaning, because that's all that is available. There's no electricity, there are no units, no CBCTs in order to place implants. And so the dentistry is very different. But it is takes a lot of planning to become a dentist. Fortunately for me, my mentor in high school helped to guide me into taking the proper steps throughout the years and to make sure I focused on my education. I graduated on time. I achieved good scores in order to get to dental school, because it is very competitive. Okay, it is very competitive. So you definitely have to be a very good student in order to become a dentist. And so this is kind of like my sequence from kindergarten to high school. That's 13 years, right? You know, and then you have to go to college for 4 years. And then once you complete college, well, you then go to dental school for another 4 years. And so it's a pretty long journey, but it's very rewarding. And the reward comes, and then you get to do fun things, practice dentistry. Dentistry gives you the ability to have a lot more freedom with your time, because as dentists, we don't really have to work as many hours. And so we can travel a lot. And one of the things I love to do is travel. And here, this was in Thailand, where we took a picture with this beautiful tiger here. I did see a question about Novocaine. Novocaine with when doing a sedation. It depends. And so I administer moderate conscious sedation which is via the IV. And so my type of sedation is to get a patient sedated enough where they're not very aware of what's going on and they're comfortable. However, they must still be conscious and breathing on their own. And so I have to use Novocaine because there is a level of consciousness with the type of sedation that I administer. Now, we do have a dental anesthesiologist who also sedates our patients. His type of sedation is a deeper level of sedation. It is called deep sedation. And with that type of sedation, the patient is completely unconscious, intubated, and you don't have to administer Novocaine because we administer paralytics, which causes the patient to be paralyzed. And we also administer opioids, which take care of the pain. But if it is, for example, a tooth extraction, your vitals will react to the degree of pain. And so for fillings and root canals, we don't typically anesthetize, but if we're taking teeth out under deep sedation, in order to prevent the patient's heart rate from jumping, we will use local anesthetic. And generally, our surgeries can be anywhere from 1 hour to up to 3 hours. When sedating someone, you can do a lot more dentistry during that time because the patient is completely cooperative and, you just get to work much more efficiently.
No, that is perfect. And Dr. Delva, thank you. We have General Richardson on the line. And ma'am, as we go to the question and answer part of the discussion of the presentation more in depth, I'd like to turn it over to you. She is one of our BEYA Stars and Stripes founders. She is a retired brigadier general and a senior executive in industry. General Richardson.
Wow, Doctor, that was just very, very interesting. I have spent my share of time over the last 50 years at least in the dentist's office, getting teeth pulled, getting crowns and so forth. And so I see a lot of questions on the in the chat room. First of all, you said you had 2 offices in the area. Where are they located? Just a general idea.
So one is located in Chesapeake. It's in the Hampton Roads area, close to Norfolk, and Virginia Beach, also part of the Hamptons Roads area, and on the near Norfolk as well. So if that can give you a little perspective.
Okay, so both of your offices are in that area?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. All right, wonderful. I don't know, for some reason I was under the impression that maybe one of them was in the Northern Virginia area there, around the DC area. But
No,
good.
not yet, but might be coming soon. We'll see.
Okay. Now, it also sounds like you have some partners that you do dentistry with. How many partners do you have, and who's the senior partner?
So I am the sole owner of the practices. I have an associate that is at the Virginia Beach location, and I am mainly at the Chesapeake location. I'm doing the dentistry here and doing sedation. We have an anesthesiologist who comes and does sedation for us for patients who need deeper levels of sedation. So I have 2 associates that are working with the practice.
Okay, all right, wonderful. So you showed us some really interesting technology that you're using these days. How has technology changed since you first went to dental school?
Wow, I mean, the technology is changing so fast every day. When I went to dental school, we still had paper charts. We had to write everything into a chart. You can go into every aspect of a dental practice and pick out how technology has just changed and improved the way we do dentistry. So even our check-in process, we can text our patients now to come into the office instead of a phone call. Our charts and softwares are completely digital. And so consent forms that people can sign on their phones as opposed to coming into the office and getting the paper and signing paper consent forms. With the crowns, like I just showed you, we can mill a crown in-house. When I was in dental school, we had to take a physical impression. So after we would prepare a tooth, we would take a kind of like a putty material and take an impression. I mean, that stuff is like Play-Doh and it's gooey and it gets everywhere and, you know, it makes you gag. And that's how we used to take impressions. However, with the scanner that we have, we can literally scan the tooth and the image uploads from the scanner head into the CEREC unit that I showed you. So what the image that you saw, that is a scanned image of a patient's tooth using a scanner that went into that computer, that which allows me to design a crown and send it to a milling unit to make a crown in the same day, where the patient can receive this crown within the hour. Traditionally, like back in dental school, you'd have to take that physical impression, make a temporary tooth for the patient, send them home for 2 weeks or however long, and then we would send the impression to the lab. They would make the crown, send it back to us, then we bring the patient. So it was a longer process. Pretty much now you can get a tooth in 1 day using the technology that we have. The same thing as a CT scan, we're able to place implants as dentists, you know, replace missing teeth. Before we used to have dentures and we used to have bridges. They're similar to crowns, but they cover your teeth and they replace missing teeth. Now we're actually able to implant a titanium screw into the bone because we have a 3D imaging software that allows us to see width and height in order to do that. And just so many other ways that we utilize technology. We use 3D printers to make mouth guards, to make bleaching trays. So it's, you know, on the horizon, there's regenerative dentistry where we're trying to make a tooth even now. So technology in dentistry is something that is very, very, very exciting.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So dentistry really has changed since I first sat in a dentist chair.
Yeah. I hear horror stories and I'm like, how? How did the dentist get on top of the chair and stand up? Like when I hear patients coming in and they're fearful of the dentist, it's because of the lack of technology in the past made dentistry a lot more traumatizing. And so all the technology that we have available to us now, sedation, 3D printers, milling, CT scan, they're all not only to improve the quality of the dental work, but also to improve patient comfort. The local anesthetics that we have, we have some that are a little bit better at penetrating bones, so you get numb a little bit better now. And topical anesthetic, where you can place on top of the tissue to numb the tissue a little bit before you administer the local anesthetic with a syringe. So the technology has definitely improved and helped patients to have a higher comfort level with doing dentistry, getting dental treatment done.
That is great news, certainly for the young folks coming along and for us adults who still need additional dental care throughout the rest of our lives. But there are still some dentists who seem to be in the dark ages and have not yet upgraded to the kind of technology that you have. But given that you have such advanced technology in your office, Sharice wants to know, so how much is the starting price?
For the technology or for the treatment?
Yeah, I think for the treatment.
Well, you know, technology is very costly. Depending on the coverage, dentistry can be costly. However, we as clinicians, we look at things from a clinical perspective, and we always make our decision based on what is the most clinically acceptable and what will benefit the patient's overall health. And so, yes, the procedure are expensive. Without insurance, you can possibly pay $1,500 for one crown. A root canal, you know, the same. An implant costs about $2,000. But as you can see, the technology, the hardware, the software that goes into creating these different types of treatment modalities, it's just the cost of research and the cost of, you know, building these, units.
Okay. So do you end up needing to receive additional schooling or training, and how often does that take place?
So every year we have to do CE credits, continuing education. And so as a dental provider, our license requires it. As for me, you can choose what you want to receive your continuing education. And I like the surgical aspect of dentistry. I also like the restorative aspect of dentistry. And so from a surgical standpoint, I have focused my continuing education on implantology and restorative dentistry, cosmetics, such as veneers and crowns. And also sedation, of course. I think that's what sets advanced sedation dentistry apart from most other dental offices, is that we offer all levels of sedation. Most dental practices will offer mild, which is a nitrous oxide. Very few may do moderate conscious sedation, which is the IV sedation, which I administer. And I can say we are the only practice in the Hamptons Road area with a dedicated anesthesiologist to administer deep sedation for dental patients.
Wow. So, you know, computer technology and these newfangled machines can be a little bit temperamental. What kind of maintenance or does your technology and your equipment require? And do you do it on site, or do you have somebody come in to do that?
So our dental assistant, they're trained to do the regular maintenance, which is changing the filters, running diagnostics. Sometimes they're weekly, sometimes they're monthly. Luckily, we have not run into a lot of issues with the technology. You know, as you can see, sometimes it's finicky. As a dentist, I focus a lot more on the patient care. So my staff typically handles the turning on of the machine and getting the block in and making sure that it's secure. So they handle that technical part of it. I don't have to. I haven't had to put a block in a CEREC unit probably in 3 years, because my assistant, they always do it. And so I'm pretty sure I screwed something up in there. But they operate the hardware. I pretty much do the dentistry and tell them what the expectation is for the restoration, and they do that part. But yes, technology can be unreliable. Having a good support system, such as IT that you can call. A lot of times these machines come in with technical support. And so if we do run into an issue while we have a patient there, we would just call and they would just walk us through how to fix the problem. And normally it's a quick fix.
Okay, all right. General Crawford always likes to ask a real hard question, and here's a hard question for you today. He said, if you could provide advice to your 18-year-old self, what would that advice be?
Oh boy. Well, that is a hard question. My 18-year-old self.
18-year-old self.
Oh boy.
Graduating from high school.
I think, because at 18, you think you know a lot, but there's a lot more to discover. And so I realized a lot of the things that I have achieved after 18 were planned, but a lot also were unplanned. And that's purely because you don't know everything. And so the more you seek to know, the more you ask questions, the more you try things, you inquire, the more you put yourself in a better position of figuring out who you are, what you like to do, and really going towards your purpose as opposed to working with a limited knowledge. That's probably what I would tell my 18-year-old self, is to just keep asking questions, be very inquisitive.
Okay, all right. Well, look, Mariah, not Mariah, I always get to pronounce her name incorrectly. I get the wrong syllable. Moria is how you say her name. Wants to know if you like your job, but I think we understand already that you do. But she really wants to know about your communication skills and just how important that is to being a dentist.
So it is very, very, very important to have great communication skills as a dentist, because you are leading people. You're leading people and empowering them to step into and acquire different habits to achieve better oral care. And you have to be able to deliver them the information in a compassionate and caring way. And so I always say listening is more important than talking. That is the first step of having great communication, is to listen. You listen to your patient, you read their body language, you understand why they're here, why they've come to visit you, why they chose you. I always ask my patient, what brings you here and what it is that I can do for you in addressing your concerns. And so when you listen to what the person has to say, then you're better equipped with information to respond to them properly and to give them what it is that they're looking for. And so if I have a very anxious patient who walks into the door and she's crying, then I know that I have to then put on my comforter in chief hat and comfort them and make them feel better about being in the dental office before I even talk to them about anything that's going on with their teeth. So communication is key.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So you've done the surgery and you've made them feel comfortable. You've charged them or their insurance company for the treatment. What's the aftercare process? What's that like for the patient?
Well, it depends on the procedure. We always make it a point to follow up with our patients, especially the ones who have undergone pretty extensive surgeries like implants, extractions, sedation. We follow up the next day. The aftercare is pretty much, it's an all-time care pretty much. So the aftercare is to develop better habits in order to prevent the person from coming back for the same issue. And so we always try to talk to the patient about what got them to our chair and how to continue to prevent issues so that they're not back into the same position as they were before. If it's a tooth decay that led to a crown, then we talk about oral health habits at home, brushing and flossing. We talk to them about nutrition, what not to eat, how to eat, when to eat, things like that. A lot of people have a misconception about, for example, coffee drinkers. You drink coffee and yes, it's 1 cup of coffee. It has creamer in it. And you don't consume a lot of sugar, you don't eat candy, but then you have a ton of cavity and you're wondering why. But a lot of people don't know that coffee with sugar, just the process of drinking coffee, because it's hot, you tend to sip on it for a very long time. And so 1 cup of coffee turns into 10 cups of coffee if you're sipping on that cup of coffee with sugar for 3-4 hours. So you're continuously exposing your teeth to sugar. You're continuously feeding the karyogenic bacteria that love sugar. And so just, depending on what the person's need, the aftercare is very, personalized.
Okay, all right, well, I know between brushing and fairly often, at least annually and maybe even semi-annually, having your teeth cleaned, using flossing and a number of other dental things that you can do at home certainly are important. And so all of that, I'm sure you explain to your clients to make sure that they don't show back up again for the same problem. You don't mind them showing back up. It's just you don't want them to show back up for the same problem. Right?
Exactly. Because as much, as, dentistry is a great business. It's a balance, however, how do you want to earn? You want to earn by not doing your patient a disservice, first of all. And so, giving them the tools to do better ultimately is what our profession calls for. We're always going to be there for the thousands and millions of people with dental issues. We're always equipped to deal with them, but at the same time, helping people to do better is really what we're supposed to be doing, as opposed to, allowing them to continue down the same path and keep fixing their teeth.
Okay, all right. I think most of the questions that I've seen in chat have been answered, except that Moria wants to know if you've ever been bitten.
Almost. I've come pretty close to getting bit a few times. So it all comes with experience. So the first rule of thumb is do not stick your finger in anybody's mouth without a bite block. And so a bite block is a little block that you put in and you have the patient bite on and it keeps their mouth open, especially a young patient. You do not want to put your fingers in there, but sometimes it's a struggle. And so they'll kick the bite block out and you kind of have to, play double dutch. You're getting into the tooth, do a little bit of dentistry. You have to hop out before you get bit. And so, it has come pretty close to me getting bit a few times, but nothing serious. I've been able to pull my fingers away to safety very fast.
All right. Well, it sounds like you have a very thriving business, and certainly one that is of interest to our students here on the line, and I wish you the very, very best. And I'm going to turn this back over to Matt as we close out.
Thank you.
Thank you, General Richardson. Thank you, Dr. Delva. So that was so insightful, so much technology, so many things to learn, from Dr. Tanner and the artifacts that are in the National Museum of African American History and Culture, to you, Dr. Delva, with your CT machines and your 3D printers and all of that technology in your office. I'd like to go to Lieutenant General Crawford and then to Admiral Davis. Admiral Davis has an interesting bit of history because he has firsthand experience with dentistry and with dental students. So perhaps he'll share some of that with us. Lieutenant General Crawford and then Vice Admiral Davis, sir, to close.
Hey, Matt, thanks for that. And Dr. Delva, thanks so much for your leadership. And I think you're giving our young people and all of us the greatest gift that you can give, and that's the gift of a good example. And I often talk about that. So thank you for that. I heard three big ideas here, and there was a lot of great information here. But you mentioned several times, so I get the feeling this means a lot to you, this idea of compassion and caring. You said it several times, 3 or 4 times, you hit on that. And you even used the example of listening by talking, all right, and the importance of that, regardless of your profession. I heard you talk about purpose. And the way I talk about that is make sure when I'm giving people advice, have a passion. Regardless of what it is that you do, be purpose driven, but have that purpose be linked to whatever it is that your passion happens to be, you know. And then the last thing you talked about, you know, and you hit several times around it, but the way I couch it is bet on yourself. Don't be afraid to bet on you and believe in yourself, even when others don't believe in you. And so I just offer that as closing again by saying thank you very much for what you do and for giving us the gift of your time today. And again, for the example that you're setting for all Americans to include everyone who's here today. So thank you for that. And over to Admiral Davis.
Great. Well, this is going to be quite a day for all of us. First of all, we all know today we're commemorating this 20th anniversary of the terrorist attack. Lots of lessons learned there, and I was proud earlier this morning to see General Austin on talking to us, and he's one of our big assistants and mentors for all of you. But General Wilson, General Crawford, I'd first like to thank you for that very inspiring send-off you gave to the talk today and your knowledge of history. And then you always do a great summary, so terrific. Savannah, wow. This, I can't tell you how the pride I feel as I see you do that. You know, it gives, I call it, you get to give back while both learning and perfecting your skills. So thank you for that introduction today. And Joe Richardson, we couldn't do without, who's probably our most effective, as Joan Crawford can tell you, our most effective mentor. Always passionate about youth and always get what she wishes, by the way. So try to get close to her. And Dr. Kathy, terrific. As Matt mentioned, in college, my roommate was a dental student, so I got to participate fully in dentistry. Not only got my toothpaste and toothbrushes delivered to me, but I took full advantage of the school to get all my work done. And you mentioned John Crawford, you mentioned about the change in technology. And I think the neat thing about dentistry, you know, that they, 60 years ago, they really did dentistry well. But yes, the new technology has helped them do better. But, you know, I have a couple of old feelings that I've had since I left, since I received them in college. So I think we can really be proud of our dentist. They're most important to us. And someone mentioned about being expensive. But the neat thing about dentistry is if you go to the dentist and you pay attention to what they say, you don't have those expenses because you'll do what they say and you'll end up with nice teeth and not have to go through all of that. So this is quite a day. Dr. Kathy, I really enjoyed hearing your talk and seeing the enthusiasm you have for your work. And that's what we try to get our students to see while we do this, so they can show them careers but also by showing them if they study, what they study, it really is important, because that's what gives you the options to do all the other things that you might want to do. You might change your mind, but if you study engineering and study sciences, you'll always have that opportunity to go do what you like to do if you decide on something later. So to all of our students out there today, thank you for being here, and we're going to continue this and try to give you the best in this, and maybe one day you'll pick your career by listening and seeing what some of our professionals do in their career. By the way, if you look behind me there, that's what I started with, by the way. That's my car from college, and I still bought that at the end of my college career, and that's what I still have. I give you that background today because I'm at a wedding here actually in Fort Worth, Arlington, Texas, I guess it is, and at a wedding today. So I couldn't find an ideal place to sit or be. You probably hear a little puppy in the background from time to time also. So everybody have a great day, and remember what the lessons of this day, and hopefully one of you will say, well, you know, I decided to be a dentist on the day that we had the 20th memorial of the terrorist attack. So long, everyone, and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so long. Take care. Thank you, STEM ambassadors. Have a great week. Thank you, Dr. Delva.
All right, everyone.